The question is the House to now adjourn. I call the member for Chifley.
Speaker, through the course of this parliamentary term, orthodox views will shape thinking or have shaped thinking about the kinds of issues that have dominated attention in this chamber. And no doubt these views will inform those seeking to record history. However, what has not captured attention to the same extent is an issue that, in my opinion, has been one of those that has engaged a sizable number of people within the electorate of Chifley, and I dare say that it's probably one of the biggest issues that has attracted responses across my electorate. It goes to the issue of animal welfare, specifically the management of the live export trade in this country. Since this issue reached explosive prominence following a Four Corners expose in March 2011, there's hardly been a week, it seems, in which my office hasn't received some form of contact from a constituent deeply concerned by the terrible treatment of animals. And in response to public concerns, this government undertook groundbreaking reforms to help ensure exported animals would be treated in line with international welfare standards and to put the welfare of animals at the heart of the live export system. And we introduced strict rules and regulations in Australia's livestock export industry in an attempt to ensure that animals would only be exported if it could be independently shown they'd be treated better at or better than international standards. And it's worth noting that before these changes there weren't any rules governing the treatment of an animal once it arrived in an export market. The government changed that. It was a good move, one that should be congratulated, and we worked with trading partners to help usher in these new regulations, and we secured favourable support for these moves. And these moves placed us in a special group, Speaker. We were one of the few countries in the world with some of the strictest standards for the export of live animals. Over 100 countries are involved in live export. We've got some of the toughest export rules, looking after animals from paddock to processing. Now, I mentioned earlier how constituents would often contact me about this issue. People like Janine Barrett, Melinda McCarthy, Robert Zivkovic, Kirsty Matthews. They couldn't abide a system that would allow for mistreatment of animals, and they weren't unreasonable about their viewpoints. They understood Australia's food exports provide a livelihood for people here and it provide a source of fresh, clean food for our region. But they believed the live export trade wasn't sustainable, couldn't guarantee animal welfare. Now, when they first contacted me, my response was straightforward and direct. I didn't want to see the immediate shutdown of a sector that provides jobs and economic security for so many Australians. I believed we needed time to see the impact of the broad range of reforms we'd undertaken. But, Speaker, since that time something happened. Actually, a number of things happened. We saw issues raised about the treatment of animals in Pakistan and Qatar and Turkey and Mauritius or Kuwait or Israel or, more recently, Malaysia and Egypt. And it's at this point I began to reassess my own position on this matter. After everything we'd done, following all the measures we'd put in place, despite the breadth of reforms and all the oversight introduced, we simply couldn't get a guarantee for the welfare of our livestock once they reached the destination market. Seeing those repeated instances of mistreatment led me to the firm view that we now need to prepare for the transition from live animal exports to a domestic chilled, frozen and processed meat industry. This needs to be done right. It needs to recognise the impact on people here and overseas. But it needs to be done. It has to be done. There are trading partners we can work with to make this happen. In the chamber last week, my friend and colleague, the member for Throsby, outlined how Indonesia, which takes 40% of our live export trade, is actively looking to contract its reliance on live exports. And the member for Throsby urged, and I agree with him on this, that we should and can come up with an approach that reflects the change in approach from Indonesia, that we should actively engage with them to transform the industry, protect jobs and secure vital exports for our biggest regional neighbour. We should be building upon the success of this industry, promoting it among our export markets, making domestic food processing sustainable for the long term. Now, it's long been suggested that we need to evolve our practices in order that our farmers can capitalise on new and emerging export markets, and we are certainly in the box seat for this to occur. Shifting from live export to domestic meat processing has the potential to grow employment in this industry while maintaining the highest standard of animal welfare. It's the right thing to do. It's the proper thing to do.
The question is the House do now adjourn. All of those of that opinion say aye. To the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it.